Tens of thousands of football fans came to Highbury. Electrifying.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, guys. Welcome back to the Cannon Podcast. Instant reaction. Aston Villa. I can't even say it. Dos. Arsenal. Uno. At Villa Park. Absolute gut punch. Look, we're top of the league. And we'll be fine. We will be fine. We're still winning the league, mate. We're still winning the league, no problem. But that was horrible. And we did these instant reactions instant after the game. And I have to say how I feel. I can't sit and go, no, come on, guys. I feel horrendous. That was so bad to concede it in that way. To him as well. We're going to sign him to Unai Emery at Villa Park. Also because a lot of it was our fault. Look, Villa, credit to Villa, we'll talk about them, but a lot of that was our fault. I thought we got the lineup wrong. I thought large portions of the second half, apart from the beginning, there's sort of periods we were horrible with the ball. There were some really bad individual performances today. Feels like it could have been avoided. George, talk to me.
Football is the eternal humbler.
Why do we do this? You woke up at like 6 a.m. as well.
Yeah, no, it's mad. It was very early for me, and mate, like even I don't know. It's such a frustrating way to lose. Literally last kick of the game, and look, we've been on the other side of those, you know. And in seasons, it'll go around and goes. I mean, I think Villa Park last time that they lost was 31 games ago.
To us.
So yeah. And I was hoping for another return of that. It was just very frustrating. You could see the team's energy just sap as the match went on. And it was one of those where I'm with you. I think the final third execution was quite poor in general. And we left some goals on the pitch in the first half that, again, you come to roost, especially when your team is that tired. And I thought that Villa did a good job about physically getting at us, to be honest with you. I thought same way that Chelsea did, in the way that we said that, you know, you can hurt Arsenal's if you can run with them for 90 minutes. And I did feel that it was difficult. I was looking at the subs and I'm trying to think, would I have done anything different on the subs? And I thought, bar maybe 5 or 10 minutes of being a little bit late in the second half, as far as Martinelli coming on for some more fresh legs, but he was very proactive at the halftime interval in terms of those two subs. So I had to say, okay, credit to that. And if anything, it was just more of a case of our technical level being quite poor. And I have a feeling that came down a little bit to the fitness. This one, more than anything, felt like a game in which the team looked shattered, just physically. You know, I've said this quietly. I thought Zubamendi has been quite quiet for a couple games now. Has looked really physically hurting. The whole team does. And I'll be honest with you, as a defender, I will say this, that last kick of the game, Hincapié can't run. Hincapié boots that out of play, hoping for a pause. And he struggled a bit this game, if I'm being honest. I don't want to single out players, but I thought that he struggled. And it was a tough watch. It was a tough watch. It's not often I see us physically dominated, and I felt that we were physically dominated.
It felt like the worst possible game at the worst possible time. For us in terms of the injuries, Mosquera out, Gabriel out, Saliba out, with how many minutes Rice and Zubamendi have played, with, you know, Timber, how many minutes he's played, Saka, like it just feels like the very, very worst type of game at the very, very worst time. And Villa knew that, and they went for that. And I actually think, let me do this. Let me give some credit first, because there was some credit to be given. I thought there were periods of that game that we managed really, really well. And I think we knew what they were going to try and do. And I think the plan in the lineup, which I think he got wrong for the game, but I understand, as in I think it worked out wrong, but I understand the intentions of it, was to try and keep the ball, was to try and keep it the settling. In the first like 5-10 minutes, I could see what I think we were trying to do, which was just to settle the game down, not be too probing, basically not play the ball into the center of the pitch, because Villa are so good at that thing where if they win the ball back off you, they've got third man runners. They got I was gonna say Rashford, they did last season, Rodgers, and they got Watkins, and they got all these players who can just make those runs for you and kill you. And Tielemans and Kamara can pick you up from central. So I understood it. I felt we were lacking risk, and I felt we were lacking a sort of a cutting edge. But I kind of understood the conservatism with the legs, with the situation. Changed it at halftime. We made the right changes. We immediately saw the impact, and it's at that point I think the game started getting away from us. Probably about 60 minutes where you just saw players like Calafiori just his touch absolutely deserted him. Just literally went. Like he gave away, I think he gave away like 5 balls in that second half. It was really poor. Declan Rice, there's only so much you can ask of certain players. There's only so much you can ask, Jurriën Timber to be in 15 different positions and Zubimendi to play 10,000 minutes or whatever he's done. My only issues, I will say, are like, as in where I think we can take some fault, is I think we could have been more proactive from the start. As I said, I think the lineup was conservative, was to try and deal with Villa's threat. I think we could have been maybe if you put Eze central and if Trossard's fit to start, that's probably the only changes, that sort of thing. I thought Odegaard did well. I just think there are certain players, Nkapie, Gyökeres, probably not Madueke to some degree, Marino, who I think you haven't played enough football this season for me to like excuse that. Some of the individual performances today, and there was like 3 or 4 players that I go, you're not in the Rice camp, you're not in the Zubimendi camp, you're just giving the ball away now, and you're getting sucked into the game. We need you. In a game like this where your teammates are rushed off their feet, we need you, Gyökeres, to hold the ball up, mate. We need you, Nkapie, to not just spray it every time you get it. We need you, Marino. That first half was really poor. After I thought he was gonna probably score, but like there's certain players who you haven't had the minutes to get that excuse. So that's where I'll put the blame. I think maybe Arteta's second lot of substitutions I didn't love, but other than that, mate, I'm looking at just a knackered team.
Yeah, it's tough. We miss somebody to go over the top of a press. Like it's painfully obvious, and I think that for all of Marino's ability in the first half,
Eze
really
as well.
poor between the boxes.
Sorry to cut you. Someone in the chat as well. Eze is another one on that list. He was poor. He was poor.
Yeah, Eze was very peripheral. This game to me was a transition focus, so you needed your runners, and I mean that 11 for me lacked runners just broadly. I was willing to see what would happen. I mean, the goal was to be incredibly technically secure, and we were anything but technically secure. So it's fine. Like if the plan goes out the window, no problem. But the point is, I think that we do lack an outlet, whether that's on the wings, whether that's through the center. We lack somebody that you can go over the top of a press to bring the ball down and get us out of play when we go long. That's one thing. Then I felt like we didn't do enough to really isolate Villa's left and our right. I mean, again, our strong side, to me, the entry point was always to Maatsen. That offside goal, by the way, that Eze scores, brilliant play. Like, yes, offside, but that was the play for me to get in behind this Villa team. And, ironically, there was a really brilliant pass. I think it's by McGinn in the second half.
Yeah, to Cash. Yeah.
To Cash. That's the ball that we needed to play to Villa. And we weren't doing it enough. But it's tough because, I want to criticize, and I'm just sitting there and I'm thinking, I just see players dropping down. The levels physically, a lot of the things that I would expect are just things that I know we can do, but we're not doing because we've just had probably a lot. The last week was the most physical week we've had all season. Then we come off the back of it here. And it's frustrating because at the end, when you lose it in the manner we did, I struggle to just say it's all fitness. For me, you got to be able to close out games regardless. And if you're not doing well, this is where you got to just grit your teeth and get the draw. It's not the worst results in the world when you sit there and you look at it in the context of the entire season, but it hurts. And it hurts because I feel like, again, it was our fault. And I don't think we did enough on the day to win. And that's where I get most disappointed because, again, I've always said I look at ourselves as far as being able to control it. And, I don't really have too much of an excuse as far as the the type of squad that we've recruited and, everything along with that, yes, we're in a really big issue and you can't ignore the injuries. I will not have people say that injuries aren't a factor, especially when you're missing the two best center backs in the league, you're missing the type of people that we've missed consistently. It is absolutely a factor. It's just not something that you can say, well, that's why we lost a game fully. And it was a case where I think we left some goals on the pitch in the first half and we came to rue those things. Lastly, I will say I'm frustrated with how we've responded at times to leveling and how often we've been able to sit back into our block. We're great at it. I think we rely on it a bit too much. I felt that the pressure, the urgency, I felt this as well with Chelsea, right? We come and we draw, and the urgency to go on for upping the tempo and really getting that winner didn't seem to come. And that to me is the most frustrating thing that's within our control, because we came out in the second half brilliant. We came out to get ourselves back in the game. Trossard is brilliant. I think obviously he was really, really good in terms of, came on, he gave us a qualitative advantage that the left wing wasn't giving us before. So yeah, it's brilliant in that sense, but the tempo was great. Like Odegaard came in, that shot, Odegaard hasn't produced a shot like that in the second half in years. So the energy was there, but then you could just see it tail off. And I think that was fitness. I don't think that was intentional, but we did the same with Chelsea where, we draw and the urgency wasn't there.
There were two periods after 23 minutes, because I wrote it, I was doing like a little live blog thing. It was 23 minutes and after the goal, where we had to go and put that game to bed. And I don't know whether it's, you can blame game management. This is a group that has enough leaders in it now, that has enough players. And this is the thing is, when you're going to Villa Park, you're setting up to retain the ball. You're setting up to not be too probing. You're setting up to be a bit conservative. And like, I'm not, as I said at the beginning, I think he got the game plan wrong because it's worked out the way it has. I would have tried and gone a smash and grab and then try and go. I'd gone the other way around, but I understand it. You then have to pick your moments and you have to sense when the game is there for you. And especially at the beginning of that first half, but that Villa were getting agitated. They were flying into tackles. They were vacating spaces. And we actually had the ball and we were knocking it about quite well. At that point, I want players like Martin Odegaard to go, right, now's the moment. He did it second half, didn't do it first half. I want a player like an Eze to go, right, I'm 27 years old. I can recognise there's a period of a game now at Villa Park where the crowd are down. We've got the ball. We've got them in the final third. In Capier, weird game, because I thought in the first half he was one of the only players like Gabriel with that sort of snap in the tackle, keeping us high. You've got to go and, right, I'm going to take a risk. I'm going to play that ball over the top. I'm going to try and cut inside or just have a shot, have a sighter, like play that game. And yeah, it's a shame. I will come back to it. I do think there's some individuals like Eze who need to take some accountability. But look, if you had to draw a pie chart of the issue in this game, I think it's fitness. It's a big fitness issue. Right. Let's look at the numbers. Aston Villa 2 to Arsenal 1. I can now say that. 2.2 goals, expected goals to 1.5. There was far too many big chances they got, far too many, and a lot of them were our fault, just giving it away in the midfield or not being secure enough. 11 open play shots to our 9, 47% possession to 53, 408 passes to 461. Exactly the same amount of final third entries. It really felt like a bit of a basketball game. They had more deep touches. We had marginally more zone 14 touches, and they played more progressive passes, which I think is probably matching the eye test. There's the running XG across the game. It was pretty neck and neck. If you take out that Trossard one, it's pretty fairly similar until the Buendia one, and I suspect that's the Timber moment, maybe. I don't know, when he sort of scuffs it across the goal. There's the shot map, 2.2 XG to 1.5. Villa getting lots of shots and lots of big chances inside our box. We don't have the best centre-back pairing in the world available, and like at some point you have to accept that. I'm willing to accept giving up. There was a stat like Arsenal gave up the most XG they have in the first half of a Premier League game so far this season. I expect that. I'm okay with that. That's what I expect. That's the quality level you drop off. What I don't expect is other players like Eze, like Marino, like Gyökeres to not turn up. I think that's my frustration today. Let's go to the super chats and the comments, because I think that's probably a good place to go with this, and just to get through all the sort of the talking points in the game. Mojoman says that was brutal. I'll have a few beers, I think. It's on the horizon for me too, mate. It's 2:45 and I'm already thinking, oof, I was on the beers last night as well, and I'm like, oh mate, I could have one. Ivan Smith, very kind super chat. Thank you, mate. Outside the first 10 minutes of the second, I saw you as well, Ivan, in your little peach jacket. Outside the first 10 minutes of the second half, we were awful. Villa deserved that. The team looks so dead running at steam after about 70 minutes each game. The injuries aren't helping, but questions need to be asked. So the real questions for me, George, because I think the defensive fatigue, I don't know what you can do about that with Gabriel Saliba, and Calafiori's now suspended for Wolves, which is not good at all. Miles looks too casual for me at the minute. He's maybe another one on that list. He wasn't long enough. It looks a little bit like didn't start, not my problem to me. That's how it feels a little bit from Miles at the minute. I don't love it because that's not him at all, I don't think. So, yeah, I don't know. The ones I look at, George, is ironically we spoke about in the Buwadi Scouted, which came out this morning, which you can go check out on Patreon and YouTube memberships, is the Norgard one. In a game like this is a game I think you bring Norgard in and he at least plays 45 minutes, especially when Zubimendi's looking the way he is. This is a game for me where if you're going to play, a Marino, if you're going to have Marino in for Rice, you have Marino, maybe you play Zubimendi first half and Rice second half or something like that. I don't know how you do it. There are certain players I look at who are knackered and certain individuals who aren't being brought in for them, Waneri, whatever. And I go, why isn't Madueke starting? If it's a fitness issue for Saka, that's my concern.
Okay, I'm frustrated because I think the Norgard is a very fair point. I brought it up in the Scouted as well. There's questions that I think need to be asked as far as the usage of that. I don't have the answers because Norgard is not a useless player. This was Brentford's captain last year. This was somebody that is not something that you should be afraid to put in, which it seems like he's afraid to put in. And I can't say why. I don't know. That to me is a very odd one. I look at the attack when you have a defensive core that has been absolutely shattered and you're fielding your third choice right back and asking a player like Ben White, who hasn't played in nearly a year, to go back-to-back games yet again. You're going to be like, okay, there's going to be some concessions defensively at some point. Like, that is completely normal to expect. What you do expect is for the technical level to be strong. What you do expect is for your attackers who are able to go and get the ball under control. And I do look at some of the people that have come in. I'll be honest with you, mate. Like, I look at the front two today that came off in the second half, and I'm disappointed. I look at Marino. This is somebody that, again, has had a good run in the team at this point as far as match fitness goes, and it's just really poor. It's really poor going over the top of a press as a really peripheral. I think we're going to have some questions on the Eze left wing and the attacking midfielder debate. I wasn't as convinced that the left wing would pop in that sense. And sure, I think he's trying to find his way in that position, but I don't find it's an excuse. And I think that he's been far too peripheral in the times that he's been on the left. And, I look at Trossard and I think there's no reason when I see that type of profile that you can't emulate that level of impact. Yeah. So for as much as I think I don't agree with as a left wing and the confidence that people had that was 100% going to be the play to make it work, I still think he can do more. And, demand a little bit more personality to be on the ball a little bit more. I mean, he was slipping pretty much the entirety of the first half. That was the biggest thing that you could talk about with Eze. And then I thought Saka had moments in which he was quite good, to be honest with you. I thought he was the only attacker that probably had a little bit of something about that to be, proud of his performance. But then other than that, I felt like Martin Odegaard was fine. I don't know if I agree that he was bad. I do think at times he could have released a little bit quicker, but generally speaking, I thought that he was pressing well. It was more of the sense that I felt the urgency from the team was poor. And I think people look to Martin Odegaard because that's something that he's been criticized in the past for, but I actually don't think he was horrible as much as what people are saying. Like, I thought he was fine, but it's one of those where can you go with fine? There's other people I probably blame more, but it's just frustrating, mate. It's just frustrating because he's come back and I look at it and I'm like, you've got legs in you, like I want to see more urgency. But yeah, I don't want to single people out because I thought that was a team issue. The entire team just looked void of ideas, lacking urgency. The tempo was really poor, and we sacrificed territory and we let Villa onto us. That really was the game ultimately. And so
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can make sense of it by saying I think a lot of that lack of urgency and lack of penetration was to do with Villa's threat. But I can make sense of it only in the sense that, like, okay, if you're gonna do that, you have to look at the defensive areas and say, can we sustain that? Can we sustain the moments that we are going to lose it? Like, I think we have to try and outscore them. This is a game for me that we had to lean into it a little bit, which is why I would have started with a Madueke or would have played an Eze central. I wouldn't have gone that conservative route straight away. So yeah, Mike Watts, what was Nkapia doing at the end? Yeah, I don't know. Equally, like, Calafiori gave it away loads of times and didn't technically get punished. He's not going to get spoken about. I also think, like, for example, people are going to focus on Eze for the goal, but like, it's a deflection and he just doesn't gamble. I think there was mistakes across the board. Like, I don't want to highlight particularly Eze for the goal or Nkapia or whatever it might be. I think consistently Timber was giving it away, White was giving it away, Zubi was giving it away, Calafiori was giving it away, Raya was, again, I think, going too long and again playing into the game that they wanted, getting panicked, getting nervous and going long, which I haven't liked this season. So for me, it's kind of across the board. Needed midfield sub badly. Norgard is that bad, says Emily. Yeah, we'll discuss that a little bit. Game for Boadi, wasn't it? I do think we need a midfield signing in January. I think we're kind of, if we don't do it, we are, and it's not the Boadi thing where you sign him and you get him in the summer. I think we need something now. If you're not willing to use Norgard, maybe he hasn't impressed in training. Maybe he's not adapted. Maybe Mikel just doesn't like him. That's fine. But then you are sleepwalking into a Declan Rice and Zubimendi hamstring or whatever it ends up being. And
Zubimendi's been quiet, mate. Like, he is shattered. Like, I've said it for a couple matches at this point. You know, he's incredibly tired. You can just tell. He's not running. And Declan's a freak. I don't know how Declan is able to do it. He's, again, the only one that I sit there and go, from an Arsenal perspective, man of the match again. Like, that cross that he does at the end for Nani into the box there, like, to be able to
could have won it,
produce that. And look, we've got to gamble more. And I'm asking myself, like, where's my center forward? Who's making that run? Like, the back post winger, like, he's done the hard bit, and, you know, he puts his hands in his head and whatever. And, you know, I'm like, I get it. You did everything and you put it on a plate. But part of that, to me, mate, is like, he's the only one gambling. And that's what I have a problem with. And it's a team thing. It's just emblematic because, by the way, I swear he did that. Was it against Sunderland, Declan? He's done that a couple times in which there's a late lung bursting run, brilliant ball into the box. And I'm sitting there saying, who the hell is in the box? One attacker. And it's not acceptable.
And Martinelli and Madueke fresh.
Yeah.
As was Gyökeres, actually.
As was Gyökeres. So for me, that's the most frustrating. And that's why I'm really focusing on the critique on the attack. Because for me, that's where I look at the team and say, at least you guys have legs.
Yeah.
And you should be doing a bit better there to at least put some impetus on it. And, you know, the subs didn't have their desired effect up front, except for Trossard, who was brilliant. And I think that he also seemed to be limping. Like, he literally had his goal. They took him off because we needed a goal. And I just don't think that's good enough. You know what I mean? I don't know if I agree with this or super chat that Saka was poor. Personally, I thought he was quite good. Actually in this match, personally.
Just conscious of time for you, mate. I think I do agree. I think Saka was pretty good. My question is, if it was a fitness thing, take him off at 75 minutes, start Noni and bring Saka on at half time or whatever. I don't know. I felt the game management today. I didn't quite understand it. I have to be honest. Simple Game Life says gutted about the result, but with injuries to our main defenders and playing back-to-back games is tough. Villa literally had to dig in to win that game. Shows how hard it is to score against us. Yeah. Is there like a ice cream van going off in the back of your?
A what?
Is there an ice cream van in the back of your audio? I can hear like an ice cream van. Don't know if anyone else.
My brother's alarm's going off.
Oh, I see. Like an ice cream van. It's normally my end. I mean, for me, the away game result, the last three away games have been Sunderland, Chelsea, and Villa, and I think there's something in that in terms of conceding first, not quite being able to get back into the game, not quite being able to reestablish ourselves. There is a physical aspect to it, but again, there's only certain players I'm willing to apply that tax to. So yeah, I think there's individuals. I have to say, I thought, well, yeah, we touched on Marino, we touched on Eze, we have to touch on Gyökeres, George. It was not good. It was not good. And I'm sorry, if you're going to be on the, if your purpose is to come onto the pitch and stretch, you have to stretch. He was too static. If your purpose is to hold the ball up, I don't even care if you foul them, or well, no, I do care if you foul them, but I don't even care if you don't win the ball, you just hold the defender. He was getting easily dealt with by Konza. I wanted Martinelli on, because if you're going to have that ball in behind, at least have someone who's going to go chase it, and he might win 1 or 2 in 3. And I thought he was really poor, and it felt like a Gyökeres game, which is why I'm frustrated at it. It felt like a game where he could thrive. Maybe he could have had a goal, the Trossard one, and we're having a different conversation. But I don't know, what your thoughts?
I don't want to talk about subconscious bias. A lot of the issues that I've seen, I just see again, and it's frustrating for me. I'm with you. In theory, this is a mid-block game. Gyökeres, you buy to push that mid-block back, and if he's not going to be more consistent, I felt like he was almost looking for a foul, and that's what frustrates me more than anything. Because fine, make the runs, but be aggressive. Like, his whole game is about making aggressive runs into the channels. Why are you looking to buy a foul with your size and the way that you want to bully people in the channels, and you're looking for the foul as opposed to taking that ownership onto yourself? That's more what frustrates me. And then I'll say, it's moments like the Declan Rice cross where I'm like, okay, fine, get in the box.
Yeah.
And I think I don't know. I want to be fair, because again, he's coming back and all these things, but at this point, I know what his limitations are. Doesn't make them any better to swallow in a sense, as far as we are waiting for somebody to go over the top of a press, and he's not it. Marino also didn't provide that in the first half.
And Marino was terrible as well.
And that quality has not been in this front line, and we're waiting for Kai. Kai's the only one that I think gives us that consistently. Saka does it in moments, but again, Antoine, come help me.
Vivek says, I hope this is a wake-up call for Marino as our main number 9. Eze should play left wing, people. Nelly would have never let that Cash score that. I think because I've been on the Marino train, basically, like, don't take him out of the team until a game like today. And it's like, okay. Basically, I think he will come out of the team. I think it'll be Gyökeres probably starting in the next game. You don't take a player out of your team when he's consistently scoring. But now we've seen that sort of game. It was really, really bad from Marino in the first half. It was like, to the point where I was like, it was like 35 minutes. I was like, is he going to get hooked now? Like, because he's in one of those kind of Nuno days. It was a poor performance from him. Our second half performance up to the last 15 was immense. I genuinely believe we're more comfortable than so many people think, especially without our 2 centre backs. Yeah, I don't know about comfortable. The second half was definitely better. I actually thought Timber had a pretty good afternoon. He gave away a few balls, but in terms of like one of our recovery defenders, I think he did really well. He was also supporting the attack quite a lot in a way that I probably didn't expect him to do. It felt like we almost, like, him and Ben White kind of was treading on each other's toes a little bit, but actually I thought it was quite effective at times, and the right-hand side was probably the only place that anything was going to come from. And Ngapi was a little bit inconsistent. But again, we're trying to compare these guys to the best centre-backs in the world. Like, it's you bring on, I don't know, you put Marino in midfield up against Declan Rice. It's like, well, it's just not even a comparison, is it? Because he's Declan Rice and this silly bring Gabriel. We just have to get up. It's so boring. It's basically back to what we did last season, where we're trying to find reason. Why are our defenders? Because they're not the best centre backs in the world. And why does that player not look as good as Declan Rice? Because he's the best midfielder in the Premier League. That's why. So yeah, and the next super chat says it. Missing 2 best centre backs in the Premier League is a huge problem. And Coach Lance, I hope you're coaching better than saying this, because they're the best in the world, my friend. Not just in the Premier League, but thank you for your super chat. Appreciate it. John Snow said, gutted. Exhaustion karma got us. Rode our luck with 2 missed chances from Villa. But alas, we regroup and go again. Hopefully City lose later. Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, let's go to the table, because it's annoying to lose these sorts of games, but a lot of teams are going to lose away. But I mean, a lot of teams literally do, because they haven't lost in 31 games, as you mentioned earlier. a lot of teams are going to lose away at Villa Park. This is where it leaves the table. Arsenal with 33 points, Aston Villa with 30 behind us. City City have played the same amount of games. That's interesting. So City will have a game ahead of us, even if they win. So hopefully we can claw that back, and they still won't get ahead of us. We're still in a really, really healthy position, George. When I look at the table, it's our first loss since August. It's our first loss in 18 games. So I'm in no way panicking. It's just one of those bad days, and I really hope we sort it out for Wolves and give them 6. You know what I mean?
But yeah, that's the point. Like, you have a look at the next 5 fixtures, and those are absolutely ways to kind of, reestablish the dominance, so to speak. Look, we just need to dust ourselves off, and I mean, sometimes we can't be the best team in the world every day. And I'm conscious of that. And we're going to be having, it's gutting. I don't think there's an excuse. I think it's on us, but sometimes some of the analysis just has to be that the other team did want it more on the day. And I think that they deserved the points, to be honest with you. I don't think that, we were cheated in a sense. Yeah. I did feel as though that we let that game go in the second half from our perspective. And I think Villa ran with us, and they were good value for the points. I think that it was gutting to lose in that way, and I think a draw would have been marginally fair, but ultimately I thought Villa were really good on the day, to be honest with you. The subs that Unai Emery made as well, they were annoying, but from a Villa perspective, if I'm being objective, gave them what they needed, and the energy to run with us and push on for a winner. It's more, mate, like, I think the biggest takeaway that I take, and I do think this is worth questioning with Mikel, when you're met with a physical team, not just away. Like, I think people are reading a bit into the whole Sunderland, Chelsea, Villa Park of it all. Like, those are very difficult grounds, period. However, I do think that when we do go to a draw and we are away, we have a tendency to want to sit back more than I like. And the urgency does tend to drop, and we give impetus to a team where I feel as though when we do equalize, we should be now pushing further. Like, we've already pressed the gas. Now let's accelerate. And it feels as though, okay, we got the equalizer. Let's sit back and we'll counter. And I don't love that. And I'm getting that feeling from us. Yeah. And I think that's a very fair criticism then to say, we're good enough to accelerate. Let's accelerate more. I understand that we're brilliant defensively, but we're struggling with some injuries. We should have the urgency to press forward a bit more when we do equalize in difficult circumstances if we're not at it. I do want us to accelerate and do that a bit more.
Yeah, I agree with that. The Best Firefox YouTube says, we looked so out of it. Just sad to see, man.
Yeah.
We'll get back. Ivan Smith, I don't get why Norgard isn't playing more. The Brentford game is the perfect chance to rest Rice and or Zubi. He might not be the best player, but he can't be worse than a physically dead Zubi. Yeah, I mean, if you're not physically at it, it doesn't matter how good you are. And I'm not in any way suggesting Norgard comes in and starts and plays 10 games in a row. It's half an hour here, 20 minutes there. When you have to try. Ultimately, if you make that call in the summer, you have to trust the player to come in when you're 1-0 up against Brentford. If we, and I know it doesn't feel that way necessarily when we're in the game, we go, we just want to get over the line here, but you literally have to, that you have no other choice, or you end up in situations like this. Yeah, it's a concern, big concern. McLovin says, Odegaard's wife must be frustrated. All foreplay, no penetration. Thoughts, George? No comment.
I prefer not to speak.
I prefer not to speak. Thank you, McLovin. Best of luck getting to the party. Kai is only striker that reliably holds the ball well, says Jamal. Yeah, I think we're all waiting for Kai back. It's a shame, man. It just feels that every injury we get is like it's just a key cog. It's just a key. It feels like we always get the injury at the time where you exactly need that player. You get the Saka injury against Liverpool, or you get the Havertz injury against Villa. And that player would have completely transformed the game. But here we are. We mustn't forget, says Anthony, it's been raining. It's been raining. Raining for both teams. Come on, Anthony. Lack of energy and experience that is in. Nkapia will be better soon. Trust it. Lost a lot of duels. Gave the ball away too many times in the final third, says Jack. I think just all over the pitch. I need to look that up in terms of how many balls we gave away, but everyone was giving it away.
He was poor. The technical security was just all over the shop.
I don't think it, like, obviously it is related to fitness, but I'm going to try and find out how many we gave away on SofaScore. I don't know where it would be, but I'm going to try and find it and have a look at that, because it was bad. Yes, obviously a lot of it is related to the fitness, but it was really bad from us. In terms of duels, we actually won more aerial duels and we won more ground duels. It didn't feel that way at all. We had more passes in the final third. Yeah. Poor. Mali Mamba says, do you ever think we'll see Saka, Eze, and Madueke line up together? I feel like they can be game breakers going forward for us.
I don't know about that front three. I think we could. I mean, there's an opportunity to. It's more, to me, I feel that you're asking the whole Saka left wing conversation to make that work. I'd like to see Saka inside, and Eze inside, and if Madueke has to be on the outside for that to make it happen, sure. But I do think that seems like a stretch too far, personally, for me. Because I don't know if that'll work necessarily. But yeah.
My main man, 90, says, scheduling is a nightmare. Fitness fell. Jokeris was trying to manage himself like a match fit issue. I think Calafiori and Nkapie should switch role. That's interesting. I'll be up for that.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I think I've suggested that before. I'd like to see it. And I think that it would suit both a little bit right now. Nkapie, I think, is a little bit, he can be on the edge. We kind of said that in the scouted. And I'd like to see what he can do going forward. And I think that Calafiori, he misses the next game, right, with that yellow card.
Premier League.
So I'd be open to seeing a Calafiori at center back. It just has to make sense, right? Because as far as going forward, it's tough. I don't want a marauding left back in a sense with our injuries. So it's one of those.
Yeah. In terms of our fixtures, actually, let me come to this the super chat quickly. And Laval, 90 points wins the league. We could lose 4, draw 6, and still hit the number. Not all doom and gloom. Yeah, in terms of our next fixtures, we've got Club Brugge away on Wednesday. Saturday early away to Wednesday evening is a nice little bit of time, actually. And then it's Saturday evening again. And then we've got a whole week off before the Everton game, which I think will be really, really useful. Hopefully by that point. I think Saliba's closer than we think. I think he'll be back in either. We might not risk him for the Brugge game, but I think he'll be back for the Wolves game.
Yeah.
Obviously, Trossard is back. I think Arteta confirmed that it was a set amount of minutes that they'd agreed for him to play.
Yeah.
I think hopefully by maybe the quarterfinals, we'll have Gabriel and Havertz back. That's not if anyone else gets injured before that. So yeah, we've got Club Brugge away. Then we've got Wolves at home on the 13th, and we wait a whole week, go away to not Goodison, sorry, the Hill Dickinson. Then we're at home in the quarterfinals of the EFL Cup in midweek against Crystal Palace. Then at the weekend, we've got Brighton at home. Then on that Tuesday, the 30th of December, we've got Aston Villa again at home for revenge. Let's just finish off these super chats. Unai Emery has our number, says Joel the Realtor. Yeah, I think Unai Emery, I think Pep's beaten us 8 times in the league under Arteta. No, not under Arteta, just Pep has beaten us 8 times in the league since he's been here. And I think Arteta has lost to Unai 7 times. So he's just behind in that sense, which is a shame. John Snow is back to ask, ideal January signing to help us through.
As much as I really want midfield cover, I for the same reasons people say that Liverpool needs Semenyo, ironically, I really feel that we need an outlet over the top. I have seen enough in these games that I am not, if there is no Havertz, and I don't know how he's going to return, and I'm looking for a little bit of transition running power, somebody to give us that lift. Again, in attack is where we're looking at it, beyond the injuries. I have questions there more than I do defensively right now. And that's just because of injuries, and we'll get people back. I don't question this team defensively. So I look forward, and what did we need? Someone to push the line back. And I think Semenyo does that. I look at that, and I think that's a perfect signing for us.
If only he was available in the summer. We'll finish there. Thank you all for joining us on the instant reaction. We appreciate you being here. Rashford, says Jack. Oh, we're back. We will be back for the main podcast reaction on Monday. A reminder for patrons, YouTube members, that you can get your challenge the host entries in before we record that on Monday as well. That's going to be available for all patrons, and then henceforth for directors. We've got rewatches to come. We've got scouted episodes to come. We just put a Buadi one out. Loads of stuff on the Cannon Podcast. As always, thank you all for joining us. Thank you, George. You can go wake your brother up now.
Thank you, good sir.
Thank you so much for watching. And thanks, as always, for keeping it Arsenal.
Tens of thousands of football fans came to Highbury. This was one kind of queue the ladies thoroughly enjoyed.
Electrifying. Electrifying.